Hey guys, this is Josh here with Trillium Wild Edibles, and today I want to bring you all an identification video on Gill on the ground, or ground ivy as it's otherwise known. This is a very common plant that's found in lawns and around gardens, old barns, sidewalks, landscaping areas, and all kinds of other places like that. This plant generally grows throughout the early and middle to late spring. Right now it's beginning of April, and as we can see, this plant is blooming. This ground ivy is blooming very well right now with all these very beautiful but small violet colored flowers. So let's take a closer look at how to identify this guy. The very first thing that you're probably going to notice with it is these very beautiful but small purple to violet colored flowers, and there's usually going to be a whole lot of them on the plant. As we can see on this one here, there's just a whole lot right there. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong plant by accident. As we can see, there is a whole lot of them here. Now these flowers will come out of the leaf axils of the plant, and they will come out of almost every one of the leaf axils past a certain point. I don't notice them too deep in the base towards the plant, but I do notice them coming up a lot more towards the top of the plant. If we take a closer look at this plant, we're going to notice these very purple violet colored flowers, and we can see there's going to be quite a bit of them. And we'll also notice how they'll come out of the leaf axils towards the base of the stem. As we can see, as we can see right here on this one. These flowers are going to be tubular in shape, and we're going to see two curved lips on the petals, on the bottom petals, just like we can see right above my middle finger here on this plant. If we look at this plant from a side view, we're going to notice what I was talking about earlier and how these flowers will come out of the leaf axils or the leaf nodes all the way up and down the plant. However, I don't notice them towards the bottom of the plant near the base of the ground as I do on the top. So let's take a look. So as we go down the stem, we can notice the base of the plant here and notice that there aren't any flowers coming out of these leaf nodes here. And this is right what would have been at the soil level. If we look at the leaves from a top view, we're going to notice they're kind of round to kidney shaped, but they have these very deeply scalloped edges. And if we also look closely at the underside of the stem where the leaves meet the main stem, we'll notice that they clasp around the main stem. So these are clasping leaves, and they grow in an opposite pattern, meaning they grow on opposite sides of the stem. And they also clasp, just like we can see here from this really good underview. Another unique thing about this plant is it is in the mint family. And like most of your other mints, it will have a square stem, just like we can see right here on this one. This very unique square stem is indicative of a mint species. Not all mints will have a square stem, and not every plant with a square stem is a mint, but a good general rule of thumb is that if it has a square stem, it's most likely a mint species. Now you're often going to be finding your gill on the ground or ground ivy, like I said, usually around the edges of your house, and you can find it all throughout your lawn. But I find that, in my experience, it tends to really like the edges of houses, garages, sheds, barns, the edges of your garden, anywhere where you might have landscaping. You're definitely going to be finding this around the edges of it. And I oftentimes find it in companionship with chickweed. There is a whole bunch of common chickweed growing all throughout this ground ivy right here along the side of my house. So this is a really good way to find it. It's a very easy plant to identify. It's a very easy plant to find. It sticks out like a sore thumb this time of year because of those big clusters of purple flowers. And if we look at some of these, we can notice there are quite a bit of flowers on all of these. This plant will spread out by running root runners, and it will go and further colonize an area and take over by spreading out. So it can be troublesome, and it is considered invasive in a lot of places, so make sure you do some research on that. While this plant is edible and medicinal, I'm not going to be talking about any of the uses of that today, just simply because this is an identification video, but it does have edible uses and it does have medicinal uses. However, I will note, if you plan on using it medicinally or edibly, you should keep in mind that in some cases people have reported swelling of the throat and trouble and difficulty breathing, and those symptoms have abated or gone away within about a 24-hour period. Not everybody who consumes this plant gets that reaction, so please be very, very careful about consuming this plant. If you're aware that you're allergic to it, don't use it. If you think you might be allergic to it, it's probably a good idea to stay away from it or use a very, very small amount to see if you get any of those bad side effects or bad symptoms. So that's how you guys can identify gill on the ground or ground ivy. I thank all of you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. If you want to learn more about wild edibles or medicinal plants, please make sure to subscribe.